The air conditioner was the first to die. One moment, cool air brushed my face. The next, a blast of heat slammed into the cabin. The temperature gauge began to climb. 102, 105, 108 degrees. "Come on," I muttered, tapping the sensor as if that could change anything. The car lurched. Steam erupted from under the hood. Warning lights flashed across the dashboard. I pulled onto the shoulder of the deserted road. Tires crunched against burning gravel. When I killed the engine, all I heard was the ticking of overheated metal. No birds, no cars, only the silence of the Sonoran Desert. I checked my phone. No signal. This was not how I imagined a trip to Phoenix. One wrong turn, one scenic GPS route, and I was stranded on a nameless road with a dead car. Stepping outside, the sun pressed down like a weight, draining every drop of moisture from my skin. I lifted the hood, and another wave of steam hit me in the face. I knew almost nothing about engines. Gas, oil, that was it. The radiator had blown, fluids hissing against the blazing asphalt. My supplies were pitiful: half a bottle of water, a bag of trail mix, my phone, wallet, jeans, a light shirt, and sneakers. No hat, no sunscreen, no emergency kit. Everything a prepared traveler should have, I didn't. My name is Mark Levin, 34 years old, a financial analyst from Chicago. In the city, my skills mattered. Out here, they meant nothing. 250 milliliters left. I took a small sip. The water was almost hot. I knew the truth. In the desert, survival takes liters a day. Numbers had never scared me so much. The engine wouldn't start. Just a dull click. I was stuck. By noon, the car had turned into an oven over 120 degrees inside. Sweat soaked into my clothes and vanished instantly. My tongue swelled. My mouth was dry as sandpaper. I had to choose: wait for a rare passing car or walk. Survival shows say, stay with the vehicle. But this road was dead. I hadn't seen another car in hours. The GPS showed the nearest highway, 15 miles east. If I left now, I could reach it by nightfall. I scribbled a note and left it on the dashboard. Car broken. Heading east to the highway. Mark Levin. I tore my T-shirt, shaped it into a makeshift hat, soaked it with the last of my water, and stepped forward. Those first steps were the hardest, leaving behind the last illusion of safety. The asphalt burned through my soles. The horizon shimmered with mirages. Distances melted into nothing. I walked the white line at the edge of the road, where it was barely cooler. My shadow dragged beside me, short and sharp. After an hour, half my water was gone. I'd made it less than 2 miles. At this pace, I'd reach the highway only in the middle of the night. My head throbbed. Each movement spun the world around me. I wet my lips with tiny sips, dreaming of rain on glass, of ice in a cup somewhere back in Chicago. By midday, the bottle was empty. I hadn't covered even 5 miles. My lips split. Each breath burned my lungs. And then I understood. Water isn't what you drink. Water is what you are. Twilight brought a brief relief. The sky shifted from blue to violet, then to black, heavy as stone. There were more stars than I had ever seen in the city. I kept walking by the glow of my phone, rationing the battery. Every swallow of saliva was painful. I dreamed of Lake Michigan, of cool water closing over me. Around midnight, I stopped. In 12 hours, I had covered only 8 miles. My feet burned with blisters. My muscles shook. I sat down by the road, sweeping my flashlight for snakes or scorpions, then lay on the bare ground. The night sky glittered above me, and for the first time, I felt true loneliness. In Chicago, surrounded by millions, I had never known it like this. I closed my eyes for a moment. When I opened them, dawn was already breaking. The phone read 3:47. I woke with one thought: water. I checked a cactus nearby, covered in spines, impossible without tools. So I staggered on. When the sun dipped below the horizon, new torments began. The heat gave way to piercing cold. Clothes soaked in sweat turned into an icy shell, draining what little warmth I had left. Shivers racked my body. Just hours ago, I was dying of heat. Now, the threat was cold. The desert knew no middle ground. I tried to move, to stay warm, but my muscles refused. The cactus moisture gave no relief. My kidneys ached. My heartbeat stuttered, a warning sign. The night came alive. In the darkness, tiny creatures rustled. Somewhere far off, a coyote howled. I wasn't alone. But to desert animals, my life mattered as little as it did to the sun by day. I thought of my father. He died of a heart attack when I was 12. All my life, I feared his fate and guarded my health. The irony was cruel. I might die in another way entirely. In a desert I was never prepared for. I looked up at the sky. Stars burned in the thousands. I recognized Orion, the Big Dipper, Cassiopeia, the same constellations my father had shown me on camping trips. Back then, I had complained. Now, I remembered with warmth. A shooting star slid across the sky. Make a wish, he would have said. I wished for water, for rescue, for one more chance. But strength was slipping away. Thoughts tingled. Memories blurred into hallucinations. I was a child again, running under garden sprinklers. A student, drunk on cheap beer. Sitting in my first apartment, listening to the radiator knock. But one memory stood out, a hike in Vermont with Sarah. We got lost. A tower trail turned into an all-day struggle. I was furious. She stayed calm, pointing out the beauty around us. At dusk, we found the way back, guided by the lights of a farmhouse. Sometimes you have to get lost to find the way, she said. Back then, I didn't understand. Now, maybe I did. Those words warmed me in a way nothing else could. When I opened my eyes, the sky was already pale. I had survived another night. Barely. Sitting up made the world spin. I felt nauseous. Weak. I hadn't eaten in 2 days. Even the bitter cactus water was long gone. Animal tracks lined the sand around me. Life went on here, as if I didn't exist. 10 yards away, I saw a dark patch. I crawled to it. Under a thin layer of sand, moisture seeped up. Digging deeper, I found muddy water. I drank straight from the ground, straining it through my teeth. A little, but real. Enough to spark a flicker of hope. At dawn of the 3rd day, a strange clarity came over me. My body was shutting down. Every attempt to rise drained me. My heart raced, then faltered. Thoughts dissolved in fog, but my mind felt sharper than ever. I knew the truth. The water I had left would last maybe a day. That tiny damp patch couldn't replace what I had lost. The highway was only 3 miles away, but in my condition, it felt infinite, unreachable. I replayed every step in my mind, the small choices, the careless mistakes, each one harmless on its own. Together, they formed a fatal pattern. That's how lives collapse. Not from one blow, but from 1,000 tiny cracks. By morning, I was no longer walking. I was stumbling. The sunrise gave me 2 hours of bearable cool. The GPS showed I had gone 10 miles from the car. 6 more to the highway. But as the heat returned, my vision blurred. I began talking to my mother, to my coworkers, even though they weren't there. And then a mirage. Water shimmered ahead. I sped up, almost ran, dropped to my knees. Sand, rocks, nothing more. I clawed at the dirt with my hands until my nails split. Then I collapsed. A lizard darted past. It survived here by knowing the desert's tricks. But I was an outsider. I dragged myself to a rock and curled into its narrow shade. My thoughts circled back to water, all the times I wasted it. A shower running too long, a leaking faucet, bottles tossed half full. Now it all seemed like a crime. The sun found me again. And I knew I wouldn't reach the highway. Hallucinations came. An office. A playground. Sprinklers spraying on a green lawn. I crawled toward them. But they vanished. In desperation, I returned to the cactus. I smashed it with my sneaker until a trickle of liquid seeped out. Bitter. Thick. But it wet my mouth. Only later did I remember, not every cactus is safe. My stomach cramped. I didn't care. I curled into a ball beneath the stone, feeling time dissolve. The heat pressed down, unmoving. The desert was killing me slowly. At some point, my mind cleared. I pulled out my phone. 12% battery left. I opened notes and typed, "Whoever finds this." My name is Mark Levin. I made too many mistakes and they brought me here. Tell my mother I love her. Tell her I'm sorry. I added her number. Then, after a pause, I wrote more. The truth I've learned is this. We waste what we think is endless. Water, the shade, the chance to speak with those we love. Don't throw it away. I saved the message, turned the phone off, stretching the last percent, closed my eyes, waiting for sunset, not knowing if I would live to see it. I had built my career on calculating risks, on protecting others from loss. And yet in my own life, I failed to apply the same principles, a paradox that became my sentence. The sun was climbing again. I barely dragged myself into the sliver of shade cast by a boulder. My phone showed 8% battery. Still no signal. I opened the camera and took a picture. I wanted to see what a dying man looked like. The screen showed a stranger, skin scorched by the sun, lips cracked and bleeding, cheeks hollow, eyes sunken into dark pits. In 3 days, I had become a ruin. I shut the phone off, saving the last charge for a miracle, closed my eyes, forced myself to focus. There had to be something left. Some chance. Some resource I hadn't seen yet. I was still breathing, still thinking. That meant it was too soon to quit. Stories of desert survivors came back to me. People who found water in plant roots, who built condensation traps, who hid in animal burrows. Some survived only because they stayed with their cars. And then it hit me, I had broken the one rule. I left the car. I thought I was smarter. Just another link in my chain of mistakes. But blaming myself wouldn't help now. I needed action. I remembered the tiny water source I'd stumbled across earlier. If there was one, maybe there was another. I lifted my head 40 yards away. A patch of bushes looked greener than the rest. I gathered what strength I had and crawled. My vision narrowed to a tunnel. I whispered each step, 1, 2, 3, stopping every 10. It took nearly an hour to cross those 40 yards. I collapsed in the dust, gasping hot air. In front of me stood a bush with thick, glossy leaves. It meant one thing, water had to be near. I dug at the roots. The earth was hard, clay resisting me, nails splitting, skin tearing. Still, I clawed deeper. At about half a meter, the soil grew damp. Deeper still, my fingers struck smooth plastic. A pipe. I cleared it with my hands, found a joint, twisted hard. With a hiss, cold water burst out, spraying my face and chest. I pressed my lips to it, then stopped. I knew the danger. Drinking too fast after dehydration can kill. So I sipped. Small, careful swallows. With every drop, life seeped back into me. For the first time in 3 days, I truly believed I might survive. By the 4th morning, I could stand again. I fashioned a plug from cloth to slow the leak. I was still burned and exhausted, but my thoughts were clear. Now came a choice: stay here, wait for help, or walk toward the highway. The pipe meant people weren't far, but no one had come. I chose to move. I drank, filled my bottle, waited for sunrise, and set out. Before leaving, I even closed the pipe again. Someone else might need it. The desert no longer felt only like an enemy. It was strict, but fair. Every plant, every creature followed its rules. Now I had found mine. By mid-morning, a thin silver line shimmered ahead. The highway, barely a kilometer away, but the sight alone was enough to push me forward. By noon, I staggered onto the road. Several cars sped past, glancing at the filthy, sunburned stranger. Finally, a pickup truck slowed to a stop. I stumbled toward it. The driver, an older man with weathered skin and gray mustache, looked at me with alarm. "God, son, what happened to you?" My voice rasped. "My car broke down. I got lost. Get in. I'll take you to town. They'll fix you up." Inside the cool cab, I drank water and stared at the desert. From the comfort of air conditioning, it almost looked beautiful, golden sand, towering cacti, violet mountains. "I've lived here 40 years, the driver said. "The desert doesn't care if you live or die. It just does what it does. People forget that." I nodded. Now I understood. At the clinic, they treated my burns and rehydrated me. They wanted to keep me overnight. By the next day, I was free to go. The man's name was Hank. He drove me all the way to Phoenix. We barely spoke. I just watched the passing landscape, realizing this wasn't an enemy, but a place with its own laws, indifferent to whether I accepted them or not. People come out here looking for something, Hank said at last. Some never find it. Others find more than they expected. What did you find? I thought of those 4 days and answered, myself. Hank nodded. We drove on, leaving the desert behind. But I knew a part of it would always stay with me in respect for water, in the fragile balance that keeps us alive, and in the truth that sometimes you have to get lost to find the way again.